Good morning, class 6 students. Let's start our chapter number 3, students. We were studying about the types of forces. Contact forces we have studied in the previous video. In today's video, we will study about the non-contact forces. So, students, what are these forces? Forces which acts on the bodies of students with no contact with them. These are known as non-contact forces or forces from a distance, we can also say them. For example, gravitational force. Student, gravitational force between two bodies at a distance, such as the force of attraction between two heavenly bodies, the force of attraction on a body by the earth, etc. So, students, the weight of a body is the force by which earth attracts that body. So, the weight of the body is called its force due to gravity. Students, it is the force of a gravity on a body due to which it tends to fall vertically downwards. The leaves and fruits fall from a tree downwards towards the ground. Water in a river flows downstreams. A ball which is thrown upside, goes to a height and then it again comes back to the ground. These all are the examples of motion due to gravitational force. Now, students, we will see about the electrostatic force. Student, this force between two charged bodies at a distance either repel or attract each other. Students, unlike charges attract while the like charges repel each other. Okay, if a plastic comb you will rub on your dry hairs is brought near to the small bits of paper, what will happen? The bits of paper will attract towards the comb. Why? Because of the electrostatic force of attraction between the unlike charges. Next is students magnetic force. Magnetic force, students, between the poles of two magnets at a distance. Students, like poles repel each other while unlike poles attract each other. Okay, this two magnets are there, students, like poles. Okay, they will repel each other. Okay, while the unlike poles like north pole and south pole, okay, they will attract each other. Okay, now we will see about the force of friction. So it's a force of friction here. It is our common experience, students, that if we stop paddling our bicycle, it gradually slows down and after sometimes it stops. Okay, similarly, if we roll a ball on a plain ground, it moves to a certain distance and then it stops. So the question arises sometimes in your mind that why did the bicycle or the ball stop after some time? What is the reason, student? Reason is this, that a force can stop a moving body, so we can say that there must be a force acting on the bicycle or a body which has stopped them. So, students, the force which slows down the motion of a moving body in contact with the surface of another body, that is called frictional force. Okay, and this force always opposes motion, that means it stops motion. This, students, here figure number 3.20 shows that while pushing a heavy box, the force of friction opposes the motion and makes it very difficult for us to push it. So we can define that what is the friction? That friction is the force that opposes the relative motion between two surfaces in contact with each other. Okay, now what are the effects of friction? So students, what are the effects? First, friction opposes motion, students. Okay, We have read above that friction is a force which opposes motion. Students, in our daily life, we often have to move bodies from one place to another by pushing it or by pulling them. Okay, so suppose we want to push a box, students. If we push the box with a little effort, we will find that the box does not move. That means that there is some opposing force between the force and the ground which is not letting the box to move. This opposing force is called the force of friction, students. Okay. Now if we push the box hard, okay, that means if we apply more effort to push the box, the box will start moving. This happens because now the force applied has overcome the force of friction, students. Okay, if we roll a ball on the ground, it gradually slows down and after traveling a certain distance, it stops. The reason is that the force of friction between the ball and the ground opposes the motion of the ball and it brings the ball to stop. Similarly, if we stop paddling a bicycle, it will slow down and after a certain distance, it will stop. Again, due to force of friction between the bicycle tires and the road. So, to start the bicycle, we have to exert a force on the paddle, then the force of friction between the tires and the road. Now students, second point, friction always acts in the direction opposite to the direction of motion. If we move the box to the right, students, the friction acts towards the left. Okay. And if we move the box to the left, the friction acts towards the right, as you are seeing here in this direction, in this diagram, that the direction of force is opposite to the direction of motion. Now, second, student, friction produces heat. You have experienced this, students. When you rub your hands, your palms become warm. This you are doing in the winter season mostly. Similarly, it is due to friction that the moving parts of the machine get warm. That means it gets heated. Okay. In older days, students, people are rubbing two stones to produce the fire. Burning of matchsticks, okay, is also due to the friction. Thus, we can say that friction produces heat. Next, students, friction causes wear and tear. You have noticed in day-to-day life that the tires of the bicycle, rickshaw, car and other vehicles gradually wears out, and when they are continuously used due to friction between the tire and the ground. In machine, students, the moving parts gradually wears out when they are used continuously. Thus, we can say that friction causes wear and tear. Okay, students. Now, what are the factors affecting the force of friction? So, let's see. First, the smoothness of the surface. Students, the force of friction is more between the rough surface and it is less between the smooth surface. Underline this, students, that the force of friction is more between the rough surfaces and less between the smooth surfaces. Okay. There will be no friction, students, between two perfectly smooth surfaces. This is an ideal situation which is not practically possible. Okay. Next is the nature of medium, students. That means solid, liquid or gas in which the body moves. Students, a solid, liquid and gas all exert the force of friction on a moving body. The force of friction between solid and solid is more, and it is less between solid and liquid, and it is still less between the solid and a gas. Now, students, the weight of a moving body on the surface. Students, greater the weight of the moving body, okay, on a surface, more is the force of friction on the body by the surface. Okay, students, for today up till here, we will continue in the next video. Thank you, students.